Okay. Well, we'll go back here and switch over to live and put the fun back in Fun Cooker. Um, put this up. Tonight's episode is brought to you by 7% Entertainment, division of Innovative Potential. Hello, I am your host, Jordash, and I am playing a little snippet from a game I made, getting into that, and it's pretty good. I'm gonna say I'm enjoying it. It's fun. I like it, but today's a little bit of a journey, gaming journey, discussion, talk kind of thing. Um, I'm gonna switch over here, and we're gonna jump into it because it's gonna be a fast, long episode tonight. It is basically um, um, our gaming libraries ourselves. This was a talk I'd wanted to do one for the GDC last year, but they didn't want me to give a chat on it. So you got a bunch more crap that nobody wanted. Um, I of course ended up with another innovative potential expansion at their behest, and they're no longer here. And if you're here, you get to see a brand new game concept go unleashed, one of the most expensive games ever created, simply because of the fact that I myself have created it. Um, and we'll go on from there. So right now, it's our libraries, our gaming libraries ourselves, and on to the next screen. So basically, this talk is basically about like how our history of gaming influences our new purchases, and this doesn't have to do with anything like gambling gaming. This is video gaming. This is video game libraries. There's over 50 years, maybe even 7 would say 70, 60, anywhere from 50 to 70 years of like artwork and game titles that have been produced. So it's now considered sort of like your actual physical library, but this is now your electronic entertainment library. We went through comic books. We went through literary books. We went through comic books. We went through um, movies. Movies, DVDs are all kind of the same thing. VHS, that thing, and then we got into these video game things, and now the video game things are now maturing into this weird. They're fully matured um, media in and of itself, but there's really good stuff at the pinnacle of both sides of the average, and there's a bunch of crap, you know, everywhere else. So this talk is more about how each person begins to select what they want and what they like in sort of how they begin to identify themselves and how they spend their leisure time. And this was important to bring forward to the GDC, but their selection committee was brutal. So now you have this type of um, talk where it's just basically gaming in our lives. We know it's important. Personal identification, character building, library level character building. And so basically, how does the meta analysis of the entire gaming library reflect the person and vice versa? And then character building and industry, it's like how does the character of that library, so if you were to take that sort of four-dimensional object of the library and smush it together into a single like actual character, what is that type of character? And then summary, going forward, conclusion, questions. So basically, gaming as industrial education, inspiration, and how this influences other industrial development. What does this mean? Exploring how gaming has helped to develop and shape non-gaming careers in the pharmaceutical medical devices industry. Specifically, how personal game playing history influences decision making, and how decision making to explore new games changes as careers develop and mature. It's about how choices get made. Um, so how this kind of goes is like, well, this draws on my experiences with how there is the computational industry that started being able to spin off computational entertainment kind of thing, computer entertainment, and then how other industries interact not with their own computations, but with that computational industry. So my name is Jordash. I'm new here. I've been playing electronic games for 35 years. I started on DOS back in I was still in the 80s, so before I was 5, I've played video games kind of thing. Mostly a console gamer because I like to have it separated between here's my workstation and here's the place where I play games. And I play for story and content. Some people play for action. Some people play for puzzle solving. I have enough puzzle solving in my life to get my reward from those solved puzzles elsewhere. It would be great if those puzzles were games, because it would make more people accessible to this type of stuff. But but they're not. So that's sort of where 7% is kind of. If I want to get 250,000 doctors to be able to cure cancer, I got to get them like less stupid. So that's sort of where 7% entertainment comes in. We're just going to make everybody less stupid. And, how many people can do high school without ever going through a mole or calculating a mole? Or an Avogadro's number stuff. And it's like, that's a disgusting amount of people that are just like, they can't do ionic stuff. Maybe there's a safety precaution there, but at the same time, it's like all of computers, all of science, all of math is based on these like calculationable numbers. More importantly than like, say, your taxes. Bit about myself, I'm extremely discerning with my purchases because it's like, well, one part, we don't have a lot of money, and two, it's like I'm at the point where I'm picking leisure time to either reflect or build on something I'm already doing or have done, or something that I need to do prospectively into the future. And been playing electronic games since I was 4. A little Pong up there in the corner. Gaming in our lives. So I've played electronic games at birthday parties, with friends, before and after funerals, doing homework, having sex. The point is, gaming has integrated itself into normal life by now. You're 50 years into this thing. Why you haven't is your own damn fault. They're fun, they're enjoyable, and you learn stuff from them. So a big question is, what functions are electronic games serving in daily life? And basically, the little Donald Duck one here is from 1989, and it's like, how long do you want to work? It's like a 2-minute shift. A little bit of a joke there, but there's 8 billion people. You're lucky to be able to get a 2-minute shift. And Duke Nukem, Police Quest, and Chopper. There's an old Chopper game. And so these are the games that I liked, or that have that I had available to me at certain times, and were able to basically either imprint or serve a functional type of thing, I guess we'll call it. That's just there to just sort of there's more and important life lessons coming out of the games at this point than there are coming out of school, because school is basically retarded and has been completely replaced by the online games. The only thing that the games aren't doing is babysitting you, and if you had a babysitter and video games, you learn more from the games and the babysitter than you do from a certified from like a unionized teacher, because they're only there for their pay. Like it's all this like inversion and bastardization of the system, where it's like, well, if the teacher can't teach you this type of stuff, then their education lessons are not hitting the marks at all, and then the standardized testing assessments are not hitting what the games are teaching, and so the kids are more advanced than the children are simultaneously more advanced than what the tests are teaching, and also simultaneously further behind because the tests only end up testing mathematics, whereas the games are testing fully integrated mathematical deployments. So nobody really cares about the how-to anymore. It's now, well, you're not even testing on what they know or what they have the possibility of knowing, and they're just bored. They don't care. They don't even respect you anymore because you haven't taught them how to use a computer. You're in thesis trying to teach them how to build that computer, but they don't know how to use it. They're 10 years ahead. They're 10 years ahead of you using it, and you're not telling them, okay, well, in order to make the computer that your life now depends on, you have to be able to do this, 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 and this by grade 3 or by grade 7 or by grade 10 or something like that. So that's really where like the entire curriculum is just like worthless. So electronic games are a bit different. Electronic games are a very broad descriptor, like books. They can be anything. There are different genres with different techniques and different graphical complexity for different subject materials, with each with their own subgenre. It's like it's its own infinitum kind of thing. So basically, where and how do all these differences add up? And it's BAM, innovative potential. So it's like innovative potential is my career level company. Self-started independent company founded and wholly owned to create intellectual property, expanded from my postgraduate research work in biomedical toxicology. So basically, here's how games are great and good, but here's how the specific games that I encountered and purchased in my growing up and development created or assisted in creating innovative potential. So it's like they also help you get to where you are in life, and that part isn't really acknowledged in older generations because they didn't have those growing up. So it's like you're getting these boomers that think like, oh well, I can still get by without knowing all of this computational stuff, but you have 60-year-olds still in position of decision-making capacity that has never really experienced or delved into the more robust computer electronic entertainment titles that have basically shaped the last 50 years. So they're sitting there stupid because they're in the 70s. They're born in the 60s, but they had video games by the 70s. They never played anything even to this day, and they're sitting there as an executive officer at a company making decisions, and you're like, you are not qualified to make decisions because you don't know anything. And it's the level of the interaction, and it's a level of the fact that the game fights you back, whereas the television doesn't, is more akin to real life, which basically destroys like everybody over like 40 now. So I'm closest to 40. I'm born in 86. There's a smaller subset of people in this who were born in the 70s who are like the Gen Xers, and then that front line of the Gen Xers, the 50-year-olds right now, 50, 55-ish people, everyone older than them in any type of like corporate decision-making capacity, if they haven't studied this type of stuff and gotten with it over the last 50 years, everything they make and decide is wrong, simply because everything they do is dependent on either someone on the other side of a computer, or someone who's able to use a computer, or someone who's able to program, or someone who's able to do something. You cannot get past this any longer. So innovative potential is a patent-owning and licensing oligopoly operating in Canada and the United States in the pharmaceutical development and medical devices sector as an exclusionary limited multinational market. Hooray! So what does innovative potential do? It's like we build and develop experimental and clinical hardware that mimics enzyme functions for further commercialization and use. It's basically I play pharmaceuticals on a self-developed console. So this is sort of how the development of that console has developed. It's more developed now because this was done in 2024. It's 26 now. So we've had about a year, another 18 months built up on top of some of these other things. These ideations and iterations. Most of this unit here on the side, that's an IV mount. It's had another redux done to it to sort of clean it up and hone it up. But then it's on its way to sort of like additional compression and additional like micro pump incorporation. And that's sort of how it does, but it's able to use different pharmaceuticals to be able to generate different outputs for different disease or different effects, kind of thing. And then how does gaming fit in? So it's like basically games normalize intelligence. Or even more so, they take complicated subject matter and digest the rules of the complicated subject matter only into the courts as constituents, so you can understand the simplified version of that. And you gain, and basically it's not work. It's sort of like work is the leading edge of how do I build a micro probe out of an electronic artificial enzyme for a piece of surgical robotic hardware. That's the work. The game comes from, okay, well, now how do I teach my kids or myself or build a backup of that experience getting up to that forefront? And that's where the game comes in, because the gaming is like, well, you need to know robotics. So we have robotic games, and if you have robotics, you have to know programming. If you have programming, you have to know some computer stuff. From computer stuff, you have to know, why is he doing these enzymatic stuff? So, okay, well, now you have to get back into the biology stuff. So you have to have these different types of games to make it easier. It's like you've made it to the lighthouse, you cleared the forest and made it to the lighthouse, but now you have to start throwing large stones behind you to make sure someone can connect the dots to how you thought this through or thought it back. So the games themselves are completely concomitantly to work projects to parallel, consolidate, and normalize the complicated and esoteric nature of work. They're, like I said, the work is the hard stuff to get the new piece of technology. The games are something that everyone who doesn't work on that specifically is able to say, oh, okay, so it's this plus this equals this, gives me what you just did. It's like, yes, okay. When more and more people know that knowledge base gets more and more protected within a society. So just like nobody knew what nuclear was in 1934, everybody knew what nuclear was by 1960. Even if you don't know the specifics of chemistry, you know different types of relationships based off of that chemistry. And gaming in general just normalizes smart people. Why innovative? Why does it come? Why is this so? It's like at work I deal with complicated subject matter with extremely large data sets, and the data sets are so large that they have publications, and then the publications have publications, and even though there's like maybe fourth or fifth tier iterations of publications removed from actually what you're doing, and you're trying to make sense of this in terms of like, well, what can I do here? And basically, there's so many derivatives of an initial experiment. There's no longer any feasible way to stay on top of the general consensus materials within the sciences without years of scholarship. And this is where gaming comes in, because you don't have to have years of scholarship. You just have to see, where's the chemistry game for my high schoolers that actually teaches them how valence electrons work. There's nothing. That doesn't, you don't even have to explicitly say it. You just have to be able to have something that isn't what it is, but still is it, which is easier. It's just easier said than done. So basically, this means that the gaming industry is locked out of healthcare and a bunch of other stuff. And as an international industry leader and owner of an industry from a different industry, this is bad for gaming, because you're basically locked out of future markets. You're locked out of, as a person who studied computer science or artwork or video game making, you're sort of automatically locked out of other technical professions that are desperate for that interpretive or interpretation, because back in the 80s, everything was still computer science. It was only in the 2000s that the computer science students had created interfaces so that arts students could express whatever their bullshit was without actually knowing any computer science. So that's kind of what happened in the games industry, where you had these interfaces that the computer science people made get easier, but now you can't act. But now the lessons are gone. All you have are these retarded art expressionists, where it's like, no, we want the computer scientists back to be able to say, okay, well, now how does it? Where are the games that describe how an LLM works, the way Una and Final Fantasy X describe how the PlayStation works? So there's a lot of that missing, and then there's the older stuff from the 70s that's like, no, we're explaining the curriculum as we go, how these computers develop using the games themselves, because that's what the game developers knew. They were computer scientists. They went to computer. You had to know how to program in DOS or whatever to be able to make the first set of games up until maybe 1985, almost guaranteed. So there's a big sort of like time distortion here from the regular world, because the computation stuff comes before the entertainment stuff. So the computers are more advanced than the computational computer stuff, but then eventually they kind of run hand in hand. So the solution that Innovative Potential has is gamification. So basically, I density maxed my career information into an 8x11 piece of paper, so you can close the postgraduate education gap using only it and an internet connection. So this is where I'm taking Innovative Potential in terms of entertainment, to be able to say, okay, well, here are all these things that are really important, both for understanding what cancer is and making cures for cancer. And there's 48 things on this, and each have 40 nested subject materials within them, right? And if you need traction or you need understanding, this is where these two things are where the games are. So with that, we go into basically asset creation. So how do you make a game? So even though you've identified your subject material, and you can do this for mining. If you want to do mining here, or if you want to do silk song kind of thing, what does it take to make silk? So you have a quarter of your silk is the insect rearing, then it's cocoon despooling, then it's thread manufacturing, and then it's weaving, and then you get your artistry. So you have an entire game broken down already into these different types of disciplines or industries, broken down already into these types of. Well, if it's so complicated, how is anyone supposed to know how it works, right? Well, this is where it comes in, where it's not all just computer sciences. There's all the other people can gamify their stuff, and you see that now. But basically, this is how we do this with asset creation. You can do it with make a game out of anything, or put anything into a game. Is kind of how they're doing it now, when they should be making a game out of everything. They're putting everything into a game. So it's that's backwards, because all of the people who study game making have to branch out into different disciplines. And even if that's we're going to make a science game, but we're going to hire a scientist as a consultant to just have all this out, because we don't know what an LLM is. So we need to hire an LLM consultant so that we can make an LLM game, so that our kids know what the fucking LLM is. And that's sort of the industry there. So it's the biologists have to reach out into gaming to be able to make it happen. The chemists have to do it. Everybody's sort of there, but there's this huge gap between, okay, well, here's the people who could professionalize it really well, and then here's this massive gap in core sciences knowledge and core manufacturing knowledge and core textile knowledge that just isn't there. There's a lot of games with simulation crafting and stuff, but it's not cutting it, because you don't have it consolidated. This is it. Don't mess with that kind of thing. So you have these self-directed learning rewards with minimal oversight and guidance with gaming. It's one on it can it, in it at its best, it's one-on-one tutorship with the student, with the person. Take an idiot, and within 120 hours of entertainment, they're actually sort of core competent in what they just observed or what they interacted with. It's more potent than a school teacher. It's more potent than a television because it's electronic arts and computer entertainment. So gaming and gamification pre-exposes the public to concepts and environments that they otherwise would not encounter. As at nominal price points, most games are under $100. And they always have been. Even the brand new AAA releases are still under $100. And they always have been. Since Nintendo Super Nintendo, they've always been like $80 to $60 to $80. At times in people's lives when they self-select for specific experiences and concepts. And there's a little bit of a vulnerability here as a new product because it's a new product, it's a new entertainment. And then self-selection is good because that is what this talk is all about. People are people. So when people have the option to choose based on their needs and their requirements to retain more because they're in control, when they're in control, they own the situation. And owning the situation is powerful and enhances knowledge retention because it's that control that says, I can do this and I can know that. So then it results into, like, when people talk about it, it's like, I love that game. It's like, I know what they're really saying is that I know that game. I've studied that concept. I've studied that content. I've studied those concepts. It's really good. But what it was like, I know these games. I know what they're talking about. It's like, well, what are they? And it's like, okay, well, move on. No, you don't. You don't really love that game. And that's sort of where you love everything else associated with that game, but identify with that game that you love. So this is where you have like a little bit of like, there's young children that are at like the school age level children, and they're thinking differently than the adults are thinking. So the young children are like, oh, here's all my friends, here's all the games, here's all the stuff we do, here's the different stuff. And then there's like their lives are very active. So there's a whole bunch of like stuff thrown into the mix. But when they're given time to play quietly as themselves, all of the rest of the stuff gets then sort of channeled and focused into the game. So it has an important effect on what they're learning and why they're learning it, and how they're able to take what they learn in school and sort of graft something they have like almost an absolute amount of control over, and really cement and give them the direct feedback of what they know and what they retained, just from what they previously experienced. So that gets like really well cemented in there. This is where and how the gaming, and then as the adult has both like a forward and a backward sort of larger window. So it's like the children are on a short wave, but the adults are on a longer wave, and there's more control. So I can say it's like, well, if I'm going to go on a vacation, I want to know more about the ocean. So we played Subnautica. But I just came back from a vacation, and I want to know more about the ocean. So we played Subnautica. So there's sort of like a forward and backwards effect that's happening between children and adults. So it's sort of like, okay, well, without sponsorship and without everything, the normal person has their core set of video games that they love. That is just, it either strikes them in the right time to be able to say, I like this book because when I was little, we went to go see, I like Jurassic Park because when I was little, I had all the dinosaur toys, and we went to go play with the dinosaurs, and we played dinosaurs, and we pretended we were dinosaurs, and we saw some fossil dinosaurs, and dinosaurs were all the rage because, I don't know, it was all the rage. And then we saw Jurassic Park, so that was just like over the moon kind of like, and then the dinosaurs were real. It's that type of thing with Mario. So you self-select your gaming library and gain ownership over this experience over time through reinforced self-selection. Gaining ownership of your life's experience in relation to the gaming experience is where and when that I love that game attachment and clarity comes from. It's like, if your life doesn't get better by playing this game, that means you're not learning something from the difficulties in your life and giving yourself the time to process that emotional problem or personal problem or environmental problem or work problem or financial problem or whatever. But in giving yourself the time to experience a financial game like Roller Coaster Tycoon, you can sort of see, okay, well, everything costs something and people pay you money, and it's oversimplified, but it gives you a distance and a proximity to something in your own life that allows you to challenge the tackle of your own life. So that's kind of where that comes. And basically, as you grow in your own library, you self-select for that. I love that game acknowledgement, independently of everything else. So you grow with your gaming library, and your gaming library grows with you. So it's like, and that's basically, I love me. I love me over the games, but at the same time, you try and like say to other people, I like Mario 64 because this. So I spent money on Mario 64 because of the stuff that they show. Did you spend money? And then did you spend money on that set of experiences? Why or why not? Is there something you just don't like? Because it's like, and then you become this conversationalist between different parts of your library. It's like, well, did you not know it existed? Versus, we can't be friends because you don't like it for like 20 different reasons, and there's like a personality schism for people who like Mario and people who don't like Mario. So that's sort of how these libraries and these character classes and these TV shows and these media environments allow us to navigate our social circles. The character that is developed across the legacy of a specific gaming library is a reflection of the person's own self being alive. So being alive, what do you encounter and what do you positively select for? And this is a self-correcting reflection of a person's inner character, developed based on their own things. And most importantly, there's always a money constraint to this. It's like, now you have the ability to like pirate anything you want, download all of the games ever made whatsoever. They lose all value. So they might as well just be thrown into the background once again. It's like, what are you selecting the time to play with and the time to play for and pay for to build these libraries out and to flesh them out? Because purchases are made in advance. If you have no money, you still have the option of playing all the games. But if you have to ask your grandmother to leave her home, go out to the store, buy a game that they don't know the wherewithal about for Christmas or birthday as a present to yourself. So they ask you, what do you want for Christmas? And they say, I want this game. It's like, well, I have to, damn well better, that game better be worth your grandma going out into the snow to pick up that game and put it under the Christmas tree. That's the that's the benchmark that's the minimum standard of quality that money for games equates to. If this game is not worth a grandmother's Christmas present, we're not buying it. And a lot of them aren't, simply because the studios producing them are not putting that, like, someone else has to buy you this for Christmas and you only get one Christmas, so this game better be good enough for the whole year or more. And that's sort of like, that's the de facto standard here. And people forget that, you know. We know it's not easy, but that's what makes it even more cherished, because you get, like, what else can you buy that's worth 120 hours when you buy it, and then it's still worth 120 hours 5, 10, 15, 25 years down the road. Movies don't do that and books don't do that. These games basically withstand time. They're beautiful. So characters are made in advance. As a character of a gaming library likes the personal and psychosocial development. So it's like the person acknowledges internally that their self-perceived library characters requires development because they themselves have grown as a person and are required to grow. So it's basically, when I make a purchase, and in general, there's sort of a decision happening. It's like, what am I trying to understand, or what am I missing? So it's like, that I already experienced something that I don't know, and I'm trying to understand what I'm trying to experience. So I'm going to give myself the time to try and understand it. Or am I just missing something and I want to have that something? And so I'm going to sort of extend myself into that world so I can see where that exists in my world. So it may be something of a sci-fi game versus something of a character drama or a relationship model, or vice versa, or a financial game, or an industry game. I don't own a roller coaster, so we're going to play roller coaster. I like roller coaster tycoon. But that sort of thing. So you're bringing value through purchase as you build your game libraries. And it's the game library that influences the game buyer the most because it's the most protected. So before Steam, nobody actually knew what you were buying, in the sense that there is no recorded deposition of data that says John Smith from Marketville, Louisiana, purchased 40 Nintendo games but not a single Mario game. That's sort of like, okay, well, what's going on with that? But it's more that Steam knows what's in your game collection. So they can start cultivating demographics based on what is displayed publicly, or even to themselves, what you have or have not purchased, and start building their own demographic based industry, because you made these 15 purchases over 10 years. Let's say you made 15 purchases over 10 years, and most likely these are your next top wanting to make purchases because they're either just good games or whatever. Versus the person, well, here's the person who just like, they get sponsored to play games. They just purchase absolutely everything. So their information is basically worthless. Because it just says, well, it just says, you're going to buy whatever we put out. Versus the guy who only makes 15 purchases is going to select the hardest out of everyone to be able to make the best purchase for themselves. These people are like the legacy purchasers. They're purchasing not only for themselves, but they're purchasing for their friends, their social groups, to how does this get better through this. So that's the real difference now in the demographics, through how real life other industries, the gaming industry itself and the game library then sort of combines to say, okay, well, the game buyer is most referencing their game library, which doesn't interact with the gaming industry or other industries or real life directly. There's some social feedback between the game library and the game buyer, but that's still mostly private because only your real life personal friends know which games are sitting on your shelf because they've been in your house. Not your coworkers, not your family, and your actual friends know that you have King of Fighters 13 because you borrowed it from someone else. Not because, but they still know you have it on their shelf. So that's sort of like what's the reference point, the base reference point for like how this industry gets navigated and built. So it's like, this is an industry-wide purchase mechanism. And like, what do I get from your game being incorporated? So now it becomes this question of, what do I get from your game being incorporated into my life as expressed through my gaming library acquisition history? And as a game developer, you can never answer this question directly. That's sort of the problem with the Microsofts and the THQs and the Ubisofts, where it's like, you can never know who and what is going to purchase your game and why. You can have a general appeals market, so we're going to have like, smoking hot tits and perky bouncy asses for the just male demographic and male teenager demographic and male opulent demographic, but you never really know who's actually going to purchase it. And there's like, well, with the constraints on everything else, that if you haven't created your company to hit that, like, well, we're just completely self-funded off of royalties and revenues off of our previous, like, we had one banger of an IP and now I can self-fund the entire micro conglomerate industry of innovative potential because my one hit wonder was was profitable enough to just never have to think about being profitable ever again. It's like, that's horrible. You know what I mean? But how did innovative potential do that? So it's like, we presented a new way to look at and understand information unique to the internet's problems. It's like, years to study and practice in a unique situation where a created solution was being poorly adopted because of too much information. So we created subject-based educational tools to lower the accessibility level and to make industrial information recognition and navigation easier for the end user. And what all of this means is, you missed the Human Genome Project building, development, and results, because they did that in the 95 to 2000. So now you have $100 genome, but don't know why it cost $1 billion at start. You have all of the AIDS and immunological work. So you have the human genome, you have the immunological work, you have the protein work, and you have the cellular component work, all happening at the exact same time, and no one knows how to do any of this. Unless you go to school for post-secondary university, for postdoc and graduate level, and then maybe you're kind of independent to be able to even just know what the fuck just happened. The same thing goes for the LLMs. The same thing goes for the Higgs boson and the Large Hadron Collider. All of this type of stuff is like, wow, we're just fucking stupid. So that's sort of what gaming is for. Gaming digests the large volumes of that type of information at an investment price, and the investment price points are lowered to prepare the adoption by the people. So like, we're already all of the stuff that happened from 2000 to 2010 is already like 10 years behind, 15 years behind, and you're still not seeing the people understanding and being able to benefit from this type of stuff, because it's like, well, you went down you still have a lot of people who don't understand what a computer is, and that's sort of like the bad thing, because you still have 60-year-olds who are manning like multi-scale national corporations that still don't know how to make the decisions. So when they get like all psyched up, it's like, well, no, you're going from like moon landing to now, and it's like, well, you just have to close a 60-year gap. It's like, you're bankrupt by the time you realize how much of a gap that had to close, and everybody else closed it, and you're left out. You're locked out. So basically, and this allows for longer market retention and better market saturation. So basically, it's like, in order to preserve the information contained in the society, you don't want one person knowing all of the information. You want, 100 people knowing like 2% of the information. You want, 10 people knowing 50% of the information. So it's all of this stuff like, computers, yeah, they have like on-off switches. Everybody knows a computer has one. Like, every single person knows a computer has an on-off button switch. Right? Okay. Works like a light bulb. And then the 70-year-olds are like, well, that's all I know. Shut up. I don't need to know anything. I'm half retired. Then they start making excuses because they're embarrassed by their intelligence about a computer. It's like, well, what else do they have? Well, they have those things on the inside. It's like, okay, well, they have a fan. Okay. They also have a circuit board inside of it. They don't know anything about circuit boards. They don't even know that. Half of them don't even know that what a circuit board is. But at some point it sort of evens out that like, okay, well, now everybody knows a computer has a circuit board with microchips and circuit breakers and stuff. Okay, and stuff like that. But then it's like, okay, well, only 1,000 people know what a T480 microprocessor is. And only one person knows that I made that up. You know what? Like that's kind of how the monopoly of innovative potential is also sort of like trying to interact with like something that's pretty popular, pretty well established. Everybody kind of knows how to work a video game console. Nobody knows how to work a video game or build a video game. So you try and like not have these industries be so insular for themselves. So basically the future is gaming libraries. They're now like sort of hereditary or treasury type things where it's like, no, my kids grow up reading them, my niece plays them, we invent the kids play Submarine and just leave the Subnautica game open and they can see all the fishes or whatever. So you get that new type of, here's just like a blank wall TV screen with a imagination center for the kids to play in, to learn and adapt and grow. But then here's our cognitive assessment test for the 90-year-olds that, what should a 90-year-old know and be able to do? They get frustrated because, my computer's like fucking... They don't know to learn the hand-eye coordination for telling the TV what to do. So it's like this huge mental block for the elderly because they've never had to talk to a robot that's been their TV screen. But grandma gets off on like, you know what? Channel 152, and she talks into it to like a microphone, and you do it, you do it like I tell you to do, and it does it. You know what I mean? Like that's sort of when they get used to it, they love it. It's getting them used to It's getting them over. Like a lot of the times, like if they're 80 or 90, video games were invented when they're 50 or 60. So you got to get them in a mindset where they're at least 60 years old trying something new. That's difficult, but it's there because they learn how to drive. They learn their grandchildren's names. They learn new phone numbers. They're still learning in an old age. You just have to like get it to them, basically. So better individual games, better individual libraries, better characters, better people, better industries. The more you interact with outside industries, skills, and disciplines, the better everything gets for your own work. So if you're a games developer or a game person or a game designer or an actor or an artist or whatever, get outside of leave the industry itself entirely and go work someplace else. Like go plow a farmer's field, go work on a farm, go into a laboratory, go work public office, like do all of these things that are outside of it. It's like you'll still be able to draw, but by leaving that game working bubble, you're able to then say, okay, well, all of these other groups don't have this type of game, or what I had to learn is now able to be easier. So it's now like all the people. So then you're going out there and servicing other industries where it's basically like farm sims are pretty well established right now, but the vet sims aren't really there. They're not as popular. They're not as you know what I mean? So you have like Stardew Valley is fantastic. Just to be able to say one time I there's this stuff. But it's like if you really like Stardew Valley, it's like consider investing in a farm. It's a huge difference between the real world and Stardew Valley, but at the same time it's like you're going to start connecting gaps and making each of those things easier. So your gaming library is about your heart, gameplay, story, triumph, your friends, your family, and you. So closing the 50-year gap. So industrially for gaming, it's basically like there are thousands of 40-year-long careers, 3D structures, and data sets to work with and completely wasted because you've made no games. So this is the biggest gripe against the industry right now, even at the very large scale stuff. It's like to like the Concord people, to the Marathon people, to the Bungies, to Tencent. It's like, why are there no protein structures in games? You've had 40 years of like $1 trillion of every university throwing money at these things since basically 1995 or older. You have pseudo 3D structural libraries existing, but you don't put that art form in any type of game whatsoever. So it's like basically you're fucking retarded because you're just a bunch of like idiot loser artists and you don't know how to incorporate an alpha helix into a design motif or an art style to be able to teach about how proteins collapse and fold in your game or basically anything else. And this is the huge gripe because it's a $35 trillion industry that is going unserviced because nobody knows what the fuck a beta pleat is and how to use it. Well, that means that the barrier to entry just goes up even higher because you don't have any like artists or art styles going into the microscopic stuff, because all of the art styles you studied were all classical, neo-Citron, or like all of these other things, neoclassical stuff. But it's like, this is where the bev shot stuff, the polarized light of the dried drink beverages, it's like, that's an art style in and of itself. Learn to incorporate that type of color and intensity, saturation and angles into how you're doing your first person shooters or how you're doing the mechanics of what you're trying to teach or experience, because right now you have no experience and everything you do always ends up just like, here's another roguelike shooter with like another adjective beside it, and it's going to fail commercially because it's just another copy and paste from a copy and paste asset library. And the people who should be converting the biological asset library into a game asset library aren't doing their jobs, and nobody likes it, and it's stupid, and it's like, it's just a thousand curse words because it's stupid, it's dumb, it's repetitive. We've seen it already. We're not teaching anything new. The artists might be learning how to do additional programming, but we've already done all of this in 1982. And then COVID. It's like you have to teach people how do diseases, like the only game we have is Pandemic because it came out in like 2004 when the COVID happened the first time. So it's like wrap your head around AAA titles called Meiosis or Health or Immortal or Dr. Tran 2 Kitty's Revenge or like Prognosis Negative, or like learn how to like not be so fucking stupid. So you can have new and valuable IPs under your portfolio that generate a profit. So it's basically like, don't be stupid. So basically be yourself, use your own name, do it once, do it right, do it fast. Start at the bottom and work your way to the top. And the games that don't care, games that sell don't care. They just do. They just do what they want. And that's sort of what brings this into sort of the conclusion of thank you. And don't lock yourself out of industries that are doing it. So it's like, I'm taking innovative potential, and we're gonna go from innovative potential directly to the new game. The Gamble Maze. So this is my game. This is my game I made. This is my game I made. I scored it myself. I made it myself. I designed it for myself. We did it from scratch. This game. This is my first game. Is my first game extension. This is actually the third game. This is the third game I've made. I'm gonna close it down and go back to some of the other ones. I'm gonna play that in a second, but we're gonna talk about the GDC roundtable that they also didn't invite me to. So basically, this is what we're talking about. It's like, well, how does the industry work against the artistry? Well, it's like, well, if you got a really good idea, you can patent your idea. You can patent your game. You can patent a game. So basically, to skip this, both in terms of as a game developer, don't be afraid to work with someone who has proven that they know something about something. You might only want to have a partnership, a consulting partnership for a 2% profit sharing for 2% of total revenues, or total net revenues or total net incomes from the game sale purchase. But that's still something that you won't have access to. You won't have access to anything, basically. So it's basically, I'm an American inventor. I authored U.S. patent 111989943 in the pharmaceutical sciences. So how can GDC participants how can game developers participate with patent creation, strategizing, and patent market participation? So basically, these are laws created that give the owner the right to exclude others from making, using, offering for sale, selling an invention, or importing an invention. And if there's a process associated, the same thing applies to the process. And it's legal, and they're legal. It's a federal law. Every nation in the world has them. There's also an international treaty, but also games can be patented. If you think that your game mechanic is good enough for a 20-year milking kind of thing, then do it. If you went to school for game design and you found a mechanic that you thought is really fun, then try to patent that mechanic and build your career off of just exploiting that mechanic, because you build the mechanic, you build the program, you build the library, you retain the library, and then you can pump out 3 or 4 different games that are going to give you a lot of revenue that no one in the US can make, or no one in Europe can make. So this is sort of those things that you might not encounter it by the time you're 20. You might hit it by the time you're 25. That's sort of the big difference here, because it's like, well, now you're protecting the assets within your portfolio, and you're able to pull in different art styles under the same motif. So imagine you invented first-person shooters and then blocked off everyone else from doing a first-person shooter for 20 years. Well, then every first-person shooter that's ever made from 1990 to 2010 is your first-person shooter by law. That's kind of how that's you protecting yourself, and then people pay it. But that doesn't mean you can't say, okay, well, I got overwhelmed, I can sell off here. Have each one of your friends can then take a genre motif from your patent and go from there. So it's a very powerful thing to be able to protect your IP, to protect yourself. So this is one way of just sort of doing it. Makes yourself famous. It gives yourself a credibility that nobody else in the industry will have. It's exclusive to you or your company or whatever. So it's like, forget revenue. So okay. So basically I go on here. So it's like, when you're valuing a patent, it's like, forget revenue, because it's all of the intangibles. Like, you're the guy who invented a first-person shooter. You invented Doom. Doesn't matter anymore. Your own little daily life, your household, your rent, that stuff matters. You'll get that from working a job. You'll get that from selling your game. But the patents go across everybody unilaterally at the same time. So it's like, you can't really think in those terms anymore. You have to satisfy them, but you can't think in those terms anymore. So just forget revenue. So revenues are only so you can get 100 games out of a single game patent, but that only depends on how many times, but you could have gotten 140, you could have gotten infinity million. So it's like, it's no more that that's only the expression of what you could get other people to do, but not what it is. It's not a reflection of the patent's teachings or applications, because those are so much more powerful, always more powerful. So identify barriers to entry or practice. It's like the patent itself will directly describe for the intended audience. So basically, if there's more so it's basically the higher the barrier to entry in real life, the more valuable a patent is, because there's less implicit competition and there's more implicit protection to preceding barriers of entry. So it's like if you have to go through medical school to be able to start using this piece of equipment, and then you patented it on top of that, it's like Joe Bull Farmer is permanently always indebted. They're never escaping. But if you only have to go to a communications degree at a liberal arts college, then kind of anybody can access like some of the stuff that you're requiring to build it or do it, kind of thing. So it's like you're going after, you're protecting your own technical knowledge from the technical investments that you yourself have made. And there's two types of patents: foundational or iteral. Foundational is something new and there's nothing else around it, so you have to do it. Or the iterative thing is, here's something that already exists and I've modified it, and we're going to go off modification on a modification of a modification of a modification. Foundational patents are more valuable because the modifications and the iterations have not been disclosed or made valuable yet. But if you do a tweak on Pokemon that makes it better than Pokemon, or at least you want to be different than Pokemon, and this is allowed, this is sort of the like, okay, well then, you know what, go for your corner, stake your claim. Is a patent general specific. So it's basically this is more to how you phrase it, and it's just more of like, is it a general principle or as close as you can get to the general principle, or is it like, well, it's really specific. I've patented a process for manufacturing something really specific. Personal license plate for people named Quijibo. Right, so only the people named Quijibo will have this modification to it. That's too specific, but you can still do it. It's so specific. But you know, talking to a lawyer, I'll say, well, don't just do Quijibo people. You know, maybe could this be used for all names, and you only want to specialize in it after? But they're like, yeah, do all names first, and then try just the one name you want to market specialize on. So they're, you know, seek the professional help, but at the same time get the like. Do your job correctly and don't waste time. So, and can you live without it? So there's essential to life patents and there's stuff that's not. So I'm telling you this because even if you're not a patent owner as a game developer, your game corporation and the people you work for, or the process or the studio that you're trying to build, can still benefit from this knowledge and still work with it. And even if you're not in the life sciences, or you're not in electricity or power building, or if you're not in military, if you're not in anything, you can still outreach to the patent inventors and the patent owners to sit with them and talk with them and say, we're interested. I found your stuff interesting. I want to know if I can talk with you to incorporate some of that into our studio development design. Or if it's a large enough concept, I want to talk with you about building a game off of that. If, you know, we talked about it, we're all kind of excited about it. Can you come in and work with us? We'll do, like, you know, you really formalize it and set it up nice. Or at the same time, you just sort of like, you know, we can make a game out of this without encroaching on it, but we'd rather have your blessing on it to be able to say, well, here's some extra stuff. Yeah, sure. Here's some extra knowledge. It's free. Yeah. Even though there's not a dollar spent, it's free publicity for one half, and you get to know and better knowledge and educate yourself about a subject that you didn't before. So there's a lot of win-wins here, and this is how you run these organizations, these game development organizations. Because literally everybody dies of cancer for like the next 20 years without this type of like industrial development and openness to be able to start saying, well, what are we going to do about all the garbage? What are we going to do about the rainforest deforestation? What are we going to do about this? Well, then you sit in fear and rot for the rest of your life because you don't know and you didn't talk to anybody, and you can only read so much on Wikipedia before it's like, well, what do we actually do? We have to get people to stop doing X, Y, Z. So stick that in a game and show them a benefit of not doing it. And that's sort of the purpose. So the application date confers a patent pending status. The issues. So how industries get designed by patents is basically at issue. The exclusion rights are applied universally. Everyone gets equally banned except for the owner. The patent owner can now dictate market participants and capacities for up to 20 years. So everybody is removed from this concept. We all agreed federally that this person is the only person to do it, or this company. And then they can choose, okay, well, we want you, and we don't want you to participate. And that's the law. They have a right of exclusion. We can exclude all people named Phil. And every person named, like, they're already excluded, but they're already excluded from the monopoly because the monopoly is fair. But they can also say we don't have a requirement for Phils in this quota because the owner's name is Phil. I don't need another Phil. I'll just be the ultimate Phil. But that's sort of the dynamic and control here, where it's like, no, I want this car. I have a legal right to exclude this type of hiring behavior because it results in something negative, and I'm the monopoly owner on this. Or you get it like a little mini veto. You're the president. You get a veto process on it against the rest of the company. But at the same time, it also allows you to say, well, we've already blocked everyone else, but it would be absolutely fantastic because we want to work with you. So we've blocked everyone else out, but want to let you in. And that says huge sort of like, that it could be an ego destroyer. It's a double-edged sword. So you can really destroy someone's ego, or you can really boost them up and say, you know, we've watched your portfolio. We've never had a project. We've always wanted to do something on it. Like we have this now. So let's work together because what better do you have? And that's really kind of what it is. Like, what better do you have to be working on like an exclusivized market? So it's like basically the first game we release is the only game for 20 years. So that's kind of how that works. So working with a patent owner, if you're not the patent owner, it's basically you have to ask for permission because that's the whole structure of it. But at the same time, every patent owner knows, like, well, this is like, it's always a yes, but it's the devil's in the details. So it's just approach it like another business contract. We don't want the patent specific or the product specific. We want the information around it. See how that works? And it's like, well, we don't want the Joey. We don't care about the Joey. We don't want the Joey's stuff. But it would be great if we could put the Joey image and likeness and ideologies and stuff into a game, because that's really low-hanging fruit. It's just a piece of science fiction at that point. But there's a patent for it and stuff like that, and you can link it to the real world. So that's sort of the like closing in on a good future for yourself and for others kind of thing. And that's sort of the point of it. It's not, you're not playing like, oh, you're not playing California lawyer on this. You're saying, no, like, this is the first time anything's been done. Let's do it all together and let's do it right. If there's a real problem, this guy's going to come in and just stop the world flat. But if there isn't, you know, there's some control. That's the whole point of this. But anyway, that's sort of what that mentality and mindset is. It's not here's the God tier whatever. It's like, no, I saw it first, and in order for anybody else to see it, it has to be reported in some way, shape, or form. And if we're going to do this, and if it's complicated, and if there's other barriers to market entry, it's like, yeah, we're going to make sure everybody gets paid on this. And that's what it is. So don't plagiarize, but there might be additional knowledge that you could just say, like, for innovative potential, there's my thesis that is technically like a free demonstration version. Go to the thesis and build something around that, because you still have the free demonstration version applicable to you at your own university. So, like, you're not making use of the free information when you just have art skills. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have a main job and a sub job here. So yeah, and there's copyright and stuff like that, but you kind of know those from your own business development stuff, and it's like, and also pursue your own. There's government programs for this. It's like, what object is worth 20 years? That Pokewalker is worth like its gold. It's worth that Pokewalker is worth its weight in gold, basically. I still think it's one of the best things Nintendo and Pokemon Company has ever done. Forget the like extra. They peaked in 2010 with Heart Gold and Soul Silver. That's kind of where I'm at. They could have did it with any other one, but they did Pokewalker with it, and yeah, they were on fire that year. Just extra stuff, market strategy, and there's going to be an engagement session, and basically, who are you? What are you doing here? So we're making stuff, and that's it. Don't lock yourself out. So then, I had some time, and we started, and we it's always we, because there's me and myself and I. We're always in there, but we made a game. And we started making games, and I okay, I gotta make a game. For some reason, I had time to make a game. I sat down, I drafted it out. What does it look like? It's just in my head, and whatever came out, and we ended up with this. Here's game one. Here's game one. And this is the Gamble Door. Welcome to the Gamble Door. There's no sound. It was made in Godot. Godot. It was made in Godot. And I don't know if you can see it or not. Yeah, okay, we can see it. This is the Gamble Door. And it's a sprite with a statistical number. It's a sprite with a statistical probability attached to a button. And if you click the button, it sends you to the door. So there's a title screen. The title screen sends you to the door. If you click on the door, the program does a statistical calculation, and if the probability is whatever, you win, and if you don't, you lose. So we're gonna play again, and the yes loops back to the door. And if you click it again, it calculates a thing. And if they didn't get the probability within its limits, then you lose. Simple enough. And it's just like this. And then there's I don't want to play, and then I can go back to the start. And then if I want to exit, I exit. That was it. That was the game. It took a day. The hardest part was learning the Godot engine, because the Godot engine does so much more than just that. So it took like a day of just sitting out. What do I want to? What can I express the easiest as a game, or what do I want to have expressed the easiest as a game? And then it's just like, okay, well, we did it within 4 hours, but probably within 3, because I kind of know how to do a little bit of like programming from doing the Joey programs. Programming the CGP kind of introduced that like C++, C+ family of computational languages. Plus I can do reasonable arithmetic, mathematics, and chemistry, stuff like that. So that part wasn't difficult. But then you get to see what the thing can do more. So then the next thing's like literally the next day, I did game 2. So this is the 5 doors of gambling, and so once again it's the same thing, but now instead of having one statistical number, that one door that one door got divided into 5. So the same probability of reaching the 5th. So the first game has all this statistical probability for 5 doors, but the 5 doors got split in that. But that statistical probability to win got split across 5 doors, and you still have to make them work. There, so we won. So you can still win. And then with this one, because it was just sort of like, well, just go to the next scene kind of thing. Added in the New Game Plus that gave the base game an easier statistic to win. So you have better odds to win in the new. So if you win the first game, but you still have a capacity to lose. And then you just sort of like, that's the gameplay loop. Yeah, and then you can go from New Game Plus. And then if you win at the end, you win at the New Game Plus, or from the start, and that's sort of, you have to go through 9 doors to win the second one, basically. And this is now one of our teaching tools at Innovative Potential, where it's basically you're gonna exit and get you into the next one, which is more fun, but within the same ideology set. And I added music. I'm more proud of the music composition than I am about anything. So this is the Gamble Maze. I just want to vibe to this because it's like, it's so good. So it's the same idea. You can exit, you can enter it. It's the same door concept. You click on the door, and you're able to be confronted by a statistical calculation, probability function. So if within this number range, if your number comes up, you win. If your number comes up, you lose. That's sort of the thing. So we won. Okay. So if you click the guy, you take your money and you go home. Play again. So if you don't win right off the bat, you get into the success room. So it's like, okay, well, your first statistical encounter was a success, meaning you didn't win, and so it's basically 5-1 that nothing. You're either gonna win, you're still alive, but you haven't lost. Basically, it's 5-1 that you don't lose, but every door or map or screen you go through recalculates that 5-1's odds, and your mechanism of winning is also 5-1. So there's 5 odds, but you won't win. There's 5 odds, but you will lose, and there's 5 odds that you. So if you roll a dice and roll a 6, you lose. If you roll a 6 and roll a 1, you win. If you roll 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, you don't win. If you roll a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, you don't lose. So the idea is to just keep doing these things to learn and understand what the roll of the dice is here and what that means. So you can click down to the back and go back from a room. You can click the door ahead of you, and that's what that's what happens. You lost. You died. The gambler got you, and you died. The boogeyman got you. You died, and yeah, you can't do anything right now. So you gotta play again. So basically, that's where like the ominous tone comes in, because it was more of like, well, here's the Simpsons quote with Gambler and his neon claws. But this is basically sort of like, okay, well, it's a maze. It's a gambling maze. monster lives. That's why. So you can sort of like get all of the other stuff sort of decompressed, acknowledged, all that. So the idea here is that you can either go to camp or do whatever. But the whole thing is that, well, the bet is, are you going to make it to the next room? The odds are in your favor that yes, you will make it to the next room. However, if the monster finds you, you die. With this one here, even though you have, like, do you wish to leave the maze with your winnings? It's like, yes. If you want to leave, you click on the gold pile and you leave. If you want to double down and keep going, oh look, he was there. Okay. If you want to, we're gonna try and find. Okay, so if you want to keep gambling, you can click the doors. Either one of the two doors, or this little glowing part here is the room you came from. Is the idea that you come from the room behind you, and you click on it and you go back to the room behind you, but you don't know. I love it. 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 It's the most expensive game that's ever existed. At least up to this point. So it is like, it's literally 2-second gameplay loop, but it can be really expanded upon to just bet with your friends or something. Like, okay, well, like that's kind of how it works. So we all enter, and we all place our bets, and we're betting we're gonna be able to win. We're gonna be able to exit with the gold pile. All right. So, okay, well, we went through a door, and now we have another opportunity to bet. The second round of betting. You have an infinite round of betting until you actually just choose to escape. So here's a third round of betting. Here's a fourth round of betting. Well, now you lose the pot and the house wins, right? So that's kind of how that's how this got set up. This is how the statistics work. This is how the human interaction with the game sort of interface comes with it. It's fast, it's easy. I'm already working on an expanded version of it that has actual rooms and an actual exit. But the music just works. The music and the blinking lights and the fact that it's like from 1970 or 1982, maybe 1986. It's still able to speak my language. I don't know how to make it. I want, like, the next iteration is to get it so that the background pixel art doesn't get distorted when it's stretched to the scale, and that ends up being like an extra more difficult tutorial thing. This guy is an asshole, but you can win. You can still win. It's just an ass. He's just there. So it's like you're really getting shown. It's like, well, you think you're gonna like be able to escape him, but it's still the statistical number. So it's still you don't beat a statistical odds. You just sort of like escape in this 5-to-1 reality. But one comes up often enough. Like, there's no weighting, there's no coefficient. You're just rolling sixes now, asshole. Like, really, like, there. Fuck off. There. Okay. This is the one I wanted. This is the pilot. It's like, okay, we escaped, and it's like, okay, well, we get our stuff now. We play again, do whatever. Everybody has their drinks. Everybody has their fun, and that's sort of the idea here for the gamble maze. So this was done on Saturday, the base game for the Gamble Maze was, I started on Friday. Yeah, I started on Friday. I built 2 games on Friday and created the Gamble Maze on Saturday. Composed on Sunday and started doing the 4th game Monday and today. So by tomorrow, I'll have another Gamble Maze, basically expanded upon this version of the Gamble Maze, to be able to have actual rooms where you can go back and forth in. So it's like, instead of just having a random, so how this program works is, it's the illusion of going through doors, but you're only ever spit back at the same screen. So the program is, I click this door, it plays an animation, I go to this room. This room is the same room as this room. It's the same room as this room, which is different. So, okay, this room has 4 buttons that all draw the same statistic, that all play the same, that all lead to the same. So every option, like, you don't really have options. You have the illusion of options in this one, where it's like you have the first door. All 4 doors on this screen all play the exact same animation of the door opening. The door opening screen does a calculation to determine what's on the other side of the door. So if you roll 1 dice and it comes out as any value from 1 to 4, you're back in the same room. If you roll a 6, if the computer rolled a 6, you get the monster. If the computer rolls a 5, you get the little gold pile. And that's how it works. And that's just like the whole thing. Right, so that's sort of the fun, but you don't know, that's the fun, because you don't know when you get a 6. And you can enter the maze. So if I open the door on the left, we're still back in the same room. And if I enter the door on the right, we're still back in the same room. It gives the illusion of a door. It's like the escalator. It's like the escalator to nowhere in the monorail episode of The Simpsons. It's like, you're not actually going anywhere, we're just recalculating and providing you with a different outcome and a different visualization of that outcome. And this is easy for me to do because I've had multiple years of statistics, multiple courses in statistics, and multiple things in statistics, and in risk assessment, and like make one of this with an Incuva, and it's a totally different story. But at the same time, this type of game was not demonstrated in the 80s, or maybe it wasn't able to be demonstrated, or there was like a law, like a gambling, maybe there's like a gambling law in between, but it's mostly just showing you that, okay, well, the entire game engine itself is running off of a roll of a die that says your outcome is based on probability. And the probability is, well, you died, you met the monster, you died, and you're a loser. So let's play again and see if we're a winner. But if you do it fast enough, the animations sync up with the music, and that's what I like about it. You get this like nice, it's like saying the name of the movie in the movie or something like that. That's it, and I love it. And it's just like it's the most expensive game. We play again. Play it again. Okay, anyway, so that's sort of the whole switch it back to over here and come back into a lighter source here a little bit. But that's like I had fun. It's like I haven't had fun in a while, and that's just it's lighting up a whole bunch of stuff. It's like you're a kid, you see these like Sierra games. They're bigger than you in every possible way. But then eventually at some point it's like, well, here's 30 years worth of education, video games, adult. Here's 40 years of education and adult understanding. Maybe 35. We'll say 30. I'm gonna say 30. It's you can't really count 5, and you can't really count 3. No, we'll just say 35. Here's 35 years of video game playing, and eventually you pick up something on the other end that is itself worthwhile, I guess. But then you have your other industry background or other education. You don't need good art skills, but if you have really good computer art skills and you can program, it's like the content subject is worth as much a heavy weighting as the graphical artistry, as the computational programming, as the sound, as the whatever. It's like it's the missing piece. The actual content that you're addressing in your game is as important as whatever. So this was fun, but game 1, door 1 is 5 years survival for cancer. If I have to make it like lame like that. So basically, these are my cancer statistics. Game 1 is the cancer statistic. So the gamble door translate at innovative potential was, well, it's like, congratulations, here is your stage 4 here is your cancer diagnosis. Will you survive? Yes. But here's second person. Okay, second person. Congratulations, you have cancer. Will you survive 5 years? Yes. Okay. Here's your third person. Here's your fourth person. Oh, the fourth person died within 5 years. That sucks. Okay, well, another one. That guy died too. But, well, that guy survived. That guy survived. That guy survived. That guy survived. That guy died. And you just run this like 30, and it, like Innovative Potential runs this game 30,000 times a year in Ontario alone, but it actually runs it 10 million times a year for the planet. This game runs 10 million times a year. This game runs 10 million times every year at Innovative Potential, because that's how many people die. So this game produces 10 million deaths. 10 million there are 10 million game overs produced per year at Innovative Potential, just from the gamble door alone. The gamble door produces 10 million game overs per year. That's 30 million players. And then how this worked into game 2, the 5 doors of gambling. It's like, well, congratulate. Okay, well, you have cancer, so are you going to survive your first year? Well, you did. Are you going to survive your second year? Are you going to survive the third year? Are you going to survive the fourth year? No. You died in your fourth year post-diagnosis. Next patient. Third year, fourth year. Oh, you survived your fourth. Oh, will you make it out? No, you didn't survive the 5 years post-diagnosis. And it sucks because this is the actual cancer statistics for Canada and the United States national repositories, or the Statistics Canada and the U.S. Cancer Society at the NIH. These are their per year 5 year survival statistics. Here's our third person. They died in the first year. Here's, oh, well, there you go. This person died in the third year also. They died in the fifth year. They died in the fourth year. They died in the second. Hey, you're cured. Wonderful. Look at that. Wonderful. We had someone get cured. This is how this works. We had someone get cured, and it's all happy and nice and lovely. But you don't go stop living. So what's your sixth year look like, buddy? Oh fuck. Yeah. Oh fuck. Do it again. Here's your sixth year, and your seventh, and your eighth, and your ninth. Oh, you're lucky. We're not gonna test this. We're not gonna push your luck. But that's the real sort of idea here, that every time you end up with a cancer diagnosis, you get this like 5-year long-term survival sort of working at a national average. We don't know who you are as an individual from the national average. All that information's wiped out. It only ever says that 1/3 of all people don't survive past 5 years. Well, the deal with innovative potential is if we get a new treatment mechanism, that 1/3 can become, instead of 1/3, it's 1/20. It's 3/4. That's like start. Okay, well now we only start you at New Game Plus. That's EAC. That's innovative potential. And that's the CGP. So now you live in a world with the CGP. So you only start at New Game Plus. So you only have to go through 4 doors to win, with the same statistical odds of going through 6. Well, why the fuck would I want to play this fucking game from the base game when I can play from New Game Plus with innovative potential? You know what I mean? That's really what's trying to be taught here, where it's just like, but without getting preachy and harpy, on it, or like, well, here's your dog, like, that's forthcoming. Ultimately, that's what I'm going to turn this into. But basically, why would you want this? Why? So basically, the base game is what you have to work with before 2009, and the New Game Plus is what I created in 2009. So you can either live before 2009 or you can live after 2009. So you can have an extra mechanism with which to treat your cancer and live a normal, healthy life. Or you actually get 2 of them, because one of them was one mechanism was the immunologicals that came out, and then another mechanism was EAC. So you get 2 extra mechanisms, but I'm only talking about innovative potential, because really, this is a 10 sort of thing door. You have radiation, you have laser ablation, you have chemotherapy, you have immunological therapy, you have specialized timing treatments. You have EAC now, and you have intertumor injection. So really, you're supposed to only go through 3 doors. For every cancer diagnosis, it's like at the start of the century, you had 10 doors to go through. Now you only have 3 doors left per diagnosis. That's kind of coming in another game, but it's the same idea. So why in hell would you want to risk 1/3 of all cancer deaths for a world without innovative potential? But right now, Canada and the US are having some real problems getting their shit together, particularly Ontario. So that's kind of where that happens, and I'm happy about it. So This one here is still the same idea. So if you get through 5 doors, we got through 1 door. Okay. Hey, you won. You didn't die. You escaped. You're cured. You got through 1 door. You got through 2 doors. You died. 1 door. 2 doors. You died. 1 door. 2 door. 3 doors. 4 doors. You died. But this mechanism is closer to how it actually operates. Because you don't know. It's not just 1 door. Yeah. So it is just sort of like, you have some, like, it's fun. It masks the statistics. So it's like, you could still keep going and still end up with it. You can push your luck and still get taken out. So it's like, it's more to this effect. Because each of these doors has the same statistics as the other one, but now you have a goal that you don't necessarily control. You don't know when you're going to encounter the gold pile to exit. So you could go for you go through a 10-door streak. Like, you can have a 10-door streak. It doesn't matter. Do you want to lead? Do you want to be cured? It's like, that's your answer. It's like, yeah, sure, why not? All right, I'm a winner. But you have to go through another unknown set of doors. So this is 2 years. I only have to do 2 years of treatments and then I'm cured. But every time, it's like, yeah, right now you only have 2/3 chances of surviving 5 years on any diagnosis. Now, specific diagnoses have better prognoses, but the bulk of the general average with cancer, it's usually lung and colon that are giving you the hard time. But this is basically it. This is the game. This is how this is getting taught. It's fun too. I like it. It's like so dark. It's just like shut off the lights. Shut off the lights. Hold on, I'm gonna shut off the lights. Can I full screen it too? Full screen. Like, you can't see me or anything, it's just like, make it bigger. Get it like this, but like, that's what I mean. It's like, it's like so much fun because it's like, like it flashes in my face. You can see my face light up when the boogeyman comes. I'm so happy about this. You have no idea how happy I am about this. Take the battle back. Turn it to a drinking game. Aha. So the idea here is, it's like you can do more. So it's like a camp drinking game or whatever, where it's like, when you load it up on your phone, and it's like, okay, well, you gotta bet your poker chips. You put the poker chips in, and you say, well, I'll bet 1 chip that I can exit the next one. Well, the house won that one. So you lose your hand. So it's like, you can make it fun. You can make it not fun. But this is all it does. It rolls a dice for you. It rolls a virtual dice. 1 virtual die gets rolled from 1 to 6, and I honestly, when you put the music and the animation in, it's like it just makes it so much more real. Just the way the face lights up, it's amazing. I love it. I love it. This is our new. This is how I veto you. You have to escape the gamble maze in one shot. I'll just veto you. If you don't survive the gamble maze, I veto your idea. There. See, we escaped. This has been awesome. It's been truly amazing. It's been fun. My goal is to eventually get this out to be able to be released for like a Steam release, but I'm making something more complicated on this. And since this is sort of the same game, I get a year to patent it if I wanted to. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with innovative potential. And I'm just gonna leave you with this here. Play another one. Because I love this one. Honestly, I had a Hangman game from 1988, maybe 86 kind of thing. Scared the shit out of me. It had these like really chiptune type of sound effects in it. Police Quest, we had Police Quest like when I was first memory level type of stuff. And it had these like bullet holes in it, and it was just like, what is going on? Space Quest, and it was all of this horrible chiptune stuff. When I was like maybe 6, 7, 8, we were playing King's Quest with the Medusa. I think it's the fourth one, the third or the third one, with the Medusa and the Manannan wizard guy thing. It's just like, this is like this analog world, this sort of paint level, pixel paint type of chiptune world is exactly where you want your like under 10s to be learning, educating themselves, typing. Maybe I can get a whole, Police Quest out of this type of thing, but that's we'll look 5 years down the road for that one.